On my recent session on the Dorset Frome, I fished about half a dozen swims, and the first video, Trotting Part 9, was about fishing one of those swims, which was a small pool, and I had several grayling from it. But I also fished some standard trotting swims, so I just want to show you in this short video how I got on in those other swims. They weren't especially deep, maybe 4 or 5 feet deep, still some weed here and there, and I found some grayling. The same float that I used on the pool worked quite well, same tackle overall, Normark Avenger 2000, Wintle match reel, 3-pound line, the same Drennan wire stemmed Avon taking 3BB and a size 18 carbon chub with a couple of maggots, and just loose feeding very lightly. One strange thing that happened was I had quite a few tentative bites through the day, and I think there's quite a few very small grayling which you'll see me catch later on, little fish of about this big. I don't know if they're this year's fish or last year's fish, but they're not very big. Grayling are quite fast growing, doesn't take them long to get to a good size. They tend to grow quickly and die fairly young, so an absolute monster might only be 7 or 8 years old. And often you get fish of a certain year class showing strongly. At the moment in the Frome there's quite a lot of around about 8 to 12 ounces, and then some bigger ones as well in there, as well as the tiddlers, and that's showing the separation of the different sizes. So I hope you enjoy this video, and sit back and enjoy a nice bit of river. Come down to try another swim. The first one we had full grayling. Don't know about this area, but just going to keep trying a few swims, sprinkle a few maggots and trot down. Doesn't seem very deep here, but maybe it'll be a quick go and move on. Just let it run through fairly quick. Don't worry about holding it back. It seems to be touching the weed down there. Oh, got a fish. If we can get it to swim up river, we'll be right. I'm not sure if it's not a trout, but we'll see. Just pump it up river. And it is grayling number 5, which is making it not a bad day at all. On about 12 ounces, and as ever doesn't want to be unhooked. Very, very quick picture, and you're back in the river. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. That was second or third cast in a new swim with a tiny bit of feed. Many years ago we used to fish matches on an area close to here, and some of the matches were team matches, and we reckon that you could sometimes get a grayling first cast. You had to be ready for them, and being a team match you might only get one bite. Some of the swims were hard, so you had to net that fish, had to get it. There used to be a lot of dace on this water, but we used to fish it from October onwards. and they've long gone. The last time I had a lot of dace was probably 40 years ago. That's frightening. I used to get catches of 20 pounds of dace with the odd roach, the odd very big roach. One time there were also perch in the Frome, and they seem to have vanished as well. And there's one or two areas with chub. I have no idea where the chub are on this bit, if there are any, and there are allegedly barbel in here. Just going to try a bit deeper at the top of the swim, where it may be a bit more depth. It's a swim that shelves up quite quickly, so it will probably catch further up the swim. It's got a nice buoyant tip to the float. It's catching right at the top now, so it's not very deep anywhere there. There's no more than 3.5 foot of water all the way through. Gone quite a bit shallower this time, see if it will run further down. I think that may be a quick grayling and no more in this swim. This swim's cutting across the river a bit. It's drifting into my own bank. Got a nibbling bite then. Don't quite know what this is. Nice little grayling, not very big. Keep still, unhook it. Long distance release on a trout. Feels a bigger fish. Another reasonable grayling. About that for a tiny grayling, a grayling par, tiddler. This feels a decent fish, but it might be a trout, I don't know yet. It's a grayling. I think it's bites. I think there's a lot of bites down here. Often the trout will take it in and spit it out ever so quick. The grayling are a bit easier, but sometimes the trout are so fast, you get little pulls and tugs and that. I've had quite a few tentative bites today I've missed. Might be a little tiny grayling as well, they're not big enough to really have it. I felt that one, felt the pull. Weird, weirdest day I've ever had on. That's it for this brief look at the River Frome for some trotting. It's a nice active type of fishing. You don't need a heavy box, certainly don't need a keep net. In fact, I'd highly recommend you don't take a keep net grayling fishing. They're not a fish that do well in keep nets. By being mobile, you can try a few swims. Don't flog a whole stretch to death by fishing it for 10 hours or anything silly like that. Fish it for a short session, fish a few swims, not every single swim trying to catch every single fish. The stock of fish isn't that massively high. Have a bit of sport and leave it at that. Don't try and empty the water on these fairly sparsely populated bits of river. Grayling can't cope with being out of the water for very long at all. The sort of trophy shots that people take with roach and chub, carp, they just don't cope with it. So if you must take a photo, and it's much easier for us, bear in mind I've got a cameraman, we're running a camera live all the time, easy to just hold a fish up to the camera. We don't have to look for the camera, don't have to set it up or anything like that. We can just go straight in and take it. When people start leaving a fish gasping on the bank, they weigh it. and then photograph it. Before they know it, it's out of the water, 3 or 4 minutes. Far too long. You're talking seconds really for a grayling. By the time they put it back, oh, it swam off. What happens quite often with the big ones is they go down on the bottom, they're upside down on the bottom facing the wrong way, and they drown, which sounds crazy, but that's what happens. You'll see me dropping grayling in from a small height. That actually wakes them up when they go back. They don't just go doggo in the water. They'll liven up, they'll jump around, they get lively and start swimming actively again, and actually a better chance of survival than putting them in, slipping them back very gently, which is what you do with other fish which will tend to swim off. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.